Hey everyone, welcome to the Smiling Homeschooler Podcast. We're glad you can join us again this week. Before we begin, we just wanted to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks for making the Smiling Homeschooler possible. They're an amazing partner, and we just love having them on board because we believe in what they do and their curriculum. We've used it for years, and we've had such great results in our family, and we've heard from literally hundreds of other homeschoolers who love it too. So if you haven't checked them out, you should for next school year over at teachingtextbooks.com. Today's show is also being underwritten by Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ through a community of Christians that pay one another's medical bills. Redeem Health Share helps families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or in ministry changes or in bringing mom home. And you can learn more in the show notes about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries, and we appreciate their support. But Dad, if you're ready, go ahead and get started. Let's go.
Okay, well, hey, everybody. But first thing we got to talk about, I mentioned last week that we added not only Catherine to our show, but at our family's been working on the March Madness that we added. We've been doing a bracket on Disney villains versus heroes, and we're kind of down into round 2 right now as we're getting ready for the Sweet 16. But I just have to question Ben right now because he chose Nick Wilde over the genie as a hero, and I'm like, what is going on?
I know. I just like Nick better than I like the genie. I mean, I just think the genie is iconic, but I've not seen it as often, so I just don't have the same
It's
nostalgia
like one of the
for
most iconic characters of all time.
It is crazy.
And while we're talking about it, Catherine chose Ariel over Mufasa.
I knew that one was going to come up.
I don't know how you could bring
Rissa probably did too, I would think.
Yeah.
Rissa did.
Hardly in it. I mean, Mufasa's really hardly in the movie. Very beginning. And
just a quick plug, if you haven't, we have another podcast called The Wonderful World of Disney Plus, and we do it with some of the brothers and Dad, and we just talk about Disney movies and shows and stuff like that. So if you want something that's
because
you can listen
that's
to,
what we do all the time anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, so we just decided to record it.
Yep.
I know not everyone feels that way. Once as when I was leading the gym at our co-op that we had weekly, I asked the kids, "Oh, what's your favorite Disney character?" And like none of them knew anybody. And I'm like, "Okay, I guess not everybody."
Mickey Mouse,
can put them in chronological order, starting with
exactly.
Snow White. So anyway, Oh, go ahead.
Actually, real quick, we were talking about this before, and something that I think would be fun for us to add in here a little bit on a more regular basis was anytime we come across, maybe it's a book, a product, maybe another podcast or whatever it is, something that we enjoy that we think families, homeschoolers, and homeschooling moms would enjoy, we'd mention it. So I wanted to start this out with something that my kids have been playing with Rissa, and I think we might have briefly mentioned it, but it's called Genius Square, and it's a game that my mom got Hudson, I think it was, for Christmas or his birthday, and it's just super fun. All of our kids, except the baby, play it, and it's basically you roll a dice, you get 6 little cubes you put on a black board that's like, I don't know, a 6x6, and then your goal is to use these different like Tetris squares pieces to like fill out the board as fast as you can before the other person can. So it's just really fun. You have to like think through where the puzzle pieces will go basically, but it there's no time pressure. If you want to just do it on your own, you can. And the kids love it, and they do it with Rissa all the time. They do it with me a lot. So if you're just looking for a fun thing that even younger kids, like Anders is 4, and he can pretty well do it. I mean, not super well, but he can still try. I don't know. It's a really fun game, so highly recommend.
And what is it called again?
It's called Genius Square, and it is
guaranteed to make your kid a genius.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see.
Well, they're probably all better than I am because I can't do those games. But speaking of products, Ben, this is a good lead into what I wanted to start with, is that I just got a email ad from Walmart advertising 500 plastic eggs for $29.99. Those are not filled, I don't think. But when I saw that, I thought, why would anyone want 500 plastic eggs? Because I think we probably have close to that in our family, because Easter is coming up this weekend. And I cannot believe it. I feel like we just had Easter. I mean, I just can't believe it. And it looks like it's going to be a rainy, yucky Easter weekend. Not a good weekend for wearing your Easter bonnet. But Easter's not about that, and we know that. But I kind of segued this because I told Ben and Catherine that I was going to ask them this. You know, your favorite Easter memories, and then I'll share you my bizarre one. Go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just telling Josh before we started. I don't know why this sticks out in my head, but at the time it felt like a really big deal. I think I was like 12-ish, and I had gotten these like wedge sandals in my Easter basket, and I thought they were so cool. I'd never had anything like that before. And I'm sure I had my dress picked out for like weeks, and so I was determined to wear these wedge sandals, and it literally snowed that night. So I was wearing wedge sandals in the snow because I was so determined to wear these new sandals that I love. But for some reason, I can remember, because we were a part of the home church at that time, I can remember where we were. I can remember all the details about that Easter Sunday.
Wow.
I'm
How about you, Ben?
think if I can remember a single thing I've ever worn in a specific scenario where I was thinking
Mom
something
can
like
remember
that.
from
I
kindergarten.
could probably list all of my Easter dresses.
That's what, I always say that, like when we go to like our marriage group or something, I'll be like, did I wear this last week? And Marissa's like, who cares? No one remembers. But then we have one friend, Lexi, if you're listening, you know who you are. She will be like, oh, she just like remembers all that kind of stuff. She'll be like, you wore that 3 weeks ago or whatever, it's just crazy, so it reinforces those fears. I don't really have like a super specific one, other than just Easter now. Like growing up, it was fun, and I liked it, but I didn't really, I don't think, understand like, I mean, I knew what it was about, but I didn't really get the feeling of that as much. But now as an adult, I do really like Easter. It just feels very like joyful now to me. I like where everyone comes together, and we usually do like a joint lunch between my family and Rissa's family. And I don't know, it just feels like a happy day. And it's really become to be one of my favorite things of spring, is just kind of this like just day that just feels triumphant and joyful. And so I've really come to like having everyone together in one big lunch at our house, and it feels like a kind of a tradition that kind of formed more recently that hasn't always been that way, and that's fun. And then we also have a giant egg that we stuff with a bunch of stuff, like big bags of candy, maybe even like some money or something, and all the teens, or I guess now they're young adults, and
not teens,
some of them are not even young adults
30.
anymore, race as fast they can to find this egg, and mostly because they get to write their name on the outside or inside of it for the year. So that's a very competitive thing. But
that's Josh's favorite Easter memory.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the spirit
before Jed.
of Easter.
Yeah. Yeah, not what Christ did for us, but getting the big egg,
I know it. As a kid, I just always remember it was rainy and gloomy. I don't know why, but I think maybe global warming really is happening, and it's just nicer now than it used to be. But I remember the only thing I ever remember getting, because I didn't really like the Easter, the things that went along with it. I can remember my parents would hide an Easter basket, and I hated looking for it, and I would just get, first thing I'd go to my mom and I'd say, tell me where it is. And she wouldn't. But I remember one time in my Easter basket, I got I don't know why, a model of Frankenstein. If that doesn't scream resurrection, I do not know what does.
Well, he did come to life again, so.
So isn't that weird? But hey, we're going to run out of time. We haven't even started. So over at Facebook yesterday, I asked kind of a monthly checkup question, things that some issues or struggles or maybe joys that you're facing right now in your homeschool. And Catherine picked up out a couple for us to kind of talk about. So Catherine, why don't you read, the first one, and let's talk about it.
Okay. One of our followers wrote, juggling, schooling my last 2 students, being grandma to 6 grandkids, planning 2 weddings of 2 of our daughters, and all the other life events that get thrown in with our aging parents, all 10 of our kids residing in the same city, ages 14 to 30. Sounded a lot like our family.
Yep, I actually thought maybe Mom did write that one and changed a few of the details. I don't think we have any weddings. That is our family.
Yeah.
And actually, I have this conversation almost every morning with my wife. And I know, and Catherine thought, oh, would I just answer these? No, I want Ben and Catherine's input in these. But here's what I would say. I would say, which I tell my wife all the time, rejoice because your cup is full. I mean, really, that's the way it is. And my wife will sometimes say to me, or has said to me, we've done our time. We raised our kids, and now is it time to, like the ads
I'm
in
going
the
to take
magazine.
my headphones off for this part just so I don't feel bad going forward.
Like we're supposed to go to, and I'm like, honey, parenting is a life sentence. It is not, you don't do your time. You take it till the end. But, I would also say, as you're trying to juggle all these things, I think the real pressure and that my wife feels is that she wants to do all these perfectly. I want to meet all the needs of my last two who are still at home. I want to be available to them. I want to be available to all my kids to watch their children. I want to be the amazing grandmother that everybody looks at and goes, oh, she has all these fun things. I want to plan the wedding. I want to, take care of my parents. I want to do all these things and and the truth is you can't be good at all of them. I mean, you can only juggle so many and these are all important things. You are going to keep them all up, but you can't. And really realizing that you're good enough for all of them, that maybe you can't do what you'd like to do. And sometimes you have to say no to some things, which is really hard for my wife. It's hard for her to say no because she feels like she let somebody down. I have no problem at all. Even tonight I was watching three of the grandkids and they're like, Pops, could I have some lemonade? I'm like, yep. And they're like, I want and I'm like, you don't get to choose your cup. I'm giving you the cup that I reach in and pull out. And they're like, I don't want that one. I'm like, I don't care. And I'm like,
Dad's age-old battle with the cup.
I just give it to him. Mom would exchange it 45 times. And then, and so I don't feel some of those same things, but you should know, whoever wrote this, that there are a lot of people who are feeling what you feel. And if you're a young mom and not feeling it, you are going to feel it later. And again, it is a good thing to feel. Your life is full. You're living the life. This is what you've done this for. This is spending it wisely and well, and it pays huge dividends. And this is the way you want to go out.
Yep.
Ben and Catherine, you got any thoughts?
I mean, obviously that's not where we're at yet. So, but you also wrote a book about this, kind of recently, right?
Right.
And you want to say the name of it, just so if someone's interested in getting close to that, or maybe have a friend or family or mom.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it coming up in the next couple of weeks. But we just came out with a book called "Help! I Have Adult Children," or "I Have Adult Kids." Yeah. Catherine liked to use kids instead of children, but I have adult kids, and we talk about some of those things because. Your role is just as big, if not bigger, when your kids are adults. It totally changes.
Children with children, thank you very much. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We would die probably. So.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like
okay.
I feel like I talk about this with Mom. You said every morning. I feel like I talk to her about it every evening. We check in on the phone.
You talk every night?
Not every night, but we do talk about this a lot. I feel like, it's exactly.
Ben doesn't even answer the phone when I call.
That's right.
Yeah. So she commiserates. But I think the first part of the question was schooling the last two kids in light of all the other life stuff. And one of my observations as one of the grown kids watching Mom with the last one is just that he's having experiences that are going to pay out in his future family that us older ones didn't get to have, just because there's so much family present. He's watching all of his siblings be dads and moms. He's the best uncle to all of the nieces and nephews. He's playing with them outside almost daily. He's going to be such an amazing dad. And that's experience that us older ones didn't get to have with nieces and nephews. So I think that is just awesome. The fact that all of that lady's 10 kids are all local is amazing. And those family memories and the relationships there it's worth the tension for juggling things. And Mom and I also talk about a lot. I think when you're still a mom with kids at home and you have grandkids present and grown kids, local, I think the tension of wanting to be all in those areas is really hard, because maybe you see other grandparents who are all in with their grandkids, or other moms at co-op who are all in with their little kids still at home. And I think it's really hard juggling that, but just recognizing like your situation is totally different than theirs, and you get an opportunity that they will probably be in one day, but it really is unique to, I think, especially big families that have a big age range of kids. And it's kind of untread territory in some ways, I think.
I think that's kind of like, essentially what homeschooling is, just expanded to multiple generations. I mean, that's the whole idea, is that, your kids are going to be able to interact with their other siblings who are, their age, or that are not just their age, and so for me, it was having kids all the way down to Jed's age, was 15 years younger than me. And now Jed, is closer in age to my children than he was to me. So you're kind of getting that, all those generations, they get to interact and be together and do that, which that's a very unique situation in ours, I know. But if you do have something like that, I think that is just an amazing thing that homeschooling can kind of facilitate even more than otherwise would. Because I just don't think if your kids were all in school and you also had grandkids, like they're not going to be ever really seeing them in the same way, But if you are homeschooling still and trying to juggle that's awesome.
And I think sometimes you think too that having so many children, you're spread thin, but really the truth is, even if you have 2 or 3 or 4, they take all your time. You still feel spread thin. And I know some parents really struggle with feeling like, oh, I've got to give each child individual special. I never felt that way. I just wanted them to be a part of a family and think the family was the unit where they got their joy. Because later on when they get older, they're not going to get that special one-on-one time very often, even with their spouse. So if they can kind of just be okay with family, I think you've given a great upbringing.
Well, real quick here, we do want to thank Teaching Textbooks for making what we do possible. They're just an amazing math curriculum. And if your kids aren't smiling much and you aren't smiling much, especially during math time, maybe check them out this next school year. They have family plans, and you can do it from any device, but you can check them out over at teachingtextbooks.com. And we really appreciate their support of all that we do.
And a super special thanks to Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries, which our families love being members of. It's Christians helping Christians pay for their medical burdens. And with March Madness still on us, take it from me that you won't be disappointed to consider this a slam dunk option for healthcare, and your family will feel taken care of. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries.
Well, real quick, Catherine, here, before you read your next one, I just want to say Ariel here says, very true, only, quote unquote, 2 here, and I feel spread thin every day. Hi, Miss Kat, Gabriel's mom here from writing class. So,
aw, love that.
And Catherine picks you above Mufasa.
That's
right. So be good with that.
If you didn't know, Kat does do a teacher writing class. So if you're interested potentially the next time she does it, you should reach out and contact her through Facebook and sign up. But all right, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, another comment here. Making learning relevant for an 11-year-old. There's no reason she will need any of this, so she says. Just a side note, there were a lot of comments like this about 11 and 12-year-olds. So that age seems to be the one that's maybe a little difficult.
Well, I can confirm my daughter is getting close to that, even though she's not quite 11. She's got a lot of strong opinions about stuff like that. And so, yeah.
And really, I'm going to go, before we maybe talk about how to motivate, an 11 or 12-year-old, because I'll tell you something I can remember, and I've read it maybe more than one place. There's something about that age where their blood starts to slow down, and not for real, but it feels like they just don't care. And, all these other things are going on. And so I'll take that. But here's the question I think every homeschooler should answer correctly. If your child says to you, why are we learning this? I'm never going to use any of this. If that is true, then I would say you shouldn't be teaching it. Because that's true. But if it is not true, then you need to teach it anyway. Because I know I'll hear moms say, usually maybe a little bit older, because, school tells you what to teach and how to teach it. And these are the important things. It was foisted upon us that we should do sentence diagramming, and I don't care about it. And not just because I don't care about it, I I cannot find how it helps us. So we don't teach sentence diagramming, but I've had
side note about that, I had to teach that. I tutored some boys who were homeschooled one time. I had never learned that in my whole curriculum ever. I learned that in about an afternoon to be able to teach it to them. So if your kids need it down the road, they can teach it to themselves quickly.
Exactly.
Sure.
But and so I would say, because I have heard moms say that, they'll say, "Oh, my teenage son asked me, when am I ever going to use it? Am I ever going to use this?" And I said to them, this is the mom speaking, "No, but you just have to learn it." And I'm like, that feels like insanity to me. It feels like homeschooling, and our kids need more than that. Now, last week we talked about, the different personalities, a falcon, an owl, a swan, and a sandpiper. Your owls, your owl children, owlets, they're going to want to know whys. And you have to have answers for the whys. Some kids don't care. A falcon, they don't care if they're going to need to know it or not. You just give it to them and, they have a prize at the end and they just do it. But the owl needs to know why. And if your answer is not good enough, you're going to frustrate your children. At the same time, if you think it's important, then they need to learn it. So you have to just plug away. And and then maybe we could talk about how do you motivate a kid. That's a hard one. But if it's important, if you believe it's important, then they have to learn it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a 10 or 11 or 12-year-old or whatever the age may be, your kid doesn't see clearly what the future is, is actually useful, and they don't know what's best for them yet. I mean, that's the same with why we don't just let them, stay up all, 24 hours a day, or, play unlimited amount of video games or watch unlimited amount of movies or whatever it is. It's like they just don't know. But I do agree, obviously, like if it genuinely there, you do not know why you would ever learn that, then the only reason to learn it is to pass a test, essentially. I mean, there is probably no other reason. Unless you're going into something in that down the road. But again, then you would know why you would need it. But it is crazy how much out there is just because. And I was just talking to someone where they said they were thinking about pulling their kid out just because, their school format, they basically did all school work in a couple hours in the morning, and then all the rest of the day was basically just like extra stuff just to kind of fill the time. But she couldn't take him out because it's, it just wasn't how it worked. But she's like, we're just wasting all this time where I can't be with my kids because we just have to fill the time, and a lot of it, to be honest, I do think
because people get paid for that.
Yeah. And
I mean,
people work,
you have
so
to have
they
a
want,
job.
they don't want to have their kids home the whole time. So I just think there is a lot of extras that are just there because they got to teach them something so that they can justify it.
Yeah.
There was something else. Go ahead.
Well, there was another comment that was very similar to that about motivating an 11 or 12-year-old, but that comment specifically said, I can't remember, he or she just wants to write short stories and something else. And my thought was, sounds like me, but also like, I think at that age, like play to their strengths. So chances are, I feel like for an 11 or 12-year-old, they either think they're bored or it's really hard for them. And it's like there's either lack of confidence or like way too much confidence at that age. But I feel like the more you can play to their strengths, that I feel like mom and dad did that very well for us. It kind of made the things that weren't so fun more palatable because we felt like we could put most of our time, most of our energy in the things we were good at. And then the things we weren't so good at, we were kind of willing to struggle through to get to those things.
Yeah.
And we didn't let the struggle go very long. I know some people let that struggle last all day long. They'll say, my kid just dawdles all day long, so they have to get it done. So at dinner time, they're still working on their math. And they're, like Catherine said, I think that's because they're either bored or they don't get it. Don't assume just because they kind of look like they can do it that they get it, because they may not get it. But I would make it short. I would say, hey, we've got 20 minutes to finish this up. If you don't get it done, we're not going to make you do it more, but then you're not going to be able to do this other thing later. You may not be able to do the fun thing. And I think if you can just get them through that, I think that takes a lot of the pain away, because I don't want them to think that school is this punishment that you have to endure. We always work real hard to be done by noon, because it can be done that quickly, and even especially at 11, 12 years old.
And I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, I mean, everything that's ever been out there has shown that most people aren't able to learn like effectively for 7 hours straight. I mean, that is just extremely tough for anyone to truly be learning at that pace. Yeah, but something I was going to say is like coming into this final, stretch, and we need to wrap up here, but final stretch of the year, Riss has been trying to, just because it felt like the kids were kind of getting a little burned out with the monotony of every day, is just changing it up, so they did like, I think she mentioned this, but they did like created a volcano the other night, and out of whatever it is, baking soda and vinegar, and they've just been doing some extra, just more fun things instead of some of the normal stuff. And I think if you're at the point kind of where you're just burning out, maybe try to change it up and just drop some of the main stuff for a while, maybe even just a week or a few days, and just do something fun and totally different, and just kind of jar everyone into something enjoyable like that. And I think you will see just dividends, because I mean, it's hard if once you're just burned out and dragging to keep anyone motivated, let alone a 10 or 12-year-old.
Well, I really admire Rissa for doing that, because she said that to me today. She goes, I'm taking the Smiling Homeschooler's advice, and we're just closing the textbooks for a while. She said, and I don't know if she meant for the rest of the year, but and she didn't say they weren't going to do school. They were just going to not make it look like school. And I think that takes a lot of guts, because everything in your brain is telling you, oh, but if you don't do that, how are you going to count on it? What if other people, and I'm like, you need to be brave and bold, just like that. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. I want to thank all of you for being part of the Smiling Homeschooler. We hope that it's super, super encouraging. And if you've got a question or maybe something you're wondering about, you can email us. You can email me at familyman@familymanweb.com, or you can post it at Facebook. You'll see that discussion, and we'd love to maybe have a further discussion about it.
Yep. Awesome. Well, we appreciate everyone being here. And again, thank you to Teaching Textbooks for making this all possible. Also, one thing I don't know if people know this or not, but I do post the video. If we did do a Facebook Live, which if you're listening to this, we do it on Facebook Live, but we also post it on YouTube, so you can subscribe there and watch it on YouTube. And also, check us out on Instagram. We want to be more regular about posting over there. So go follow us over there as well. But again, thank you to Teaching Textbooks. We really appreciate all their support. We couldn't do this without them. Go support them. Tell them that you appreciate their support of us, and go check out a free trial at teachingtextbooks.com. Today's show is also made possible by Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ and serving one another through healthcare needs. As Dad likes to say, we use, love, and recommend Samaritan Ministries, and you can learn more in the show notes about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries. But all right, everyone, have a great week, and don't forget to smile. See you next week.